Welcome back to the channel, guys. In today's video, we're going to be discussing why sub-maximal training is crucial when it comes to you learning advanced calisthenics skills and why training to failure is actually killing your progress. I'm going to be giving nearly an hour-long breakdown talking about everything from how to structure your training all the way to the science behind the matter of why sub-maximal training is so important. Diving into the difference between type 1 and type 2 muscle fibers, Handyman's principle, and a whole host of other things so that you guys can stay away from all the bullshit that you guys see online. The calisthenics space is unfortunately filled with many people who have unlocked advanced skills but have no clue what they're talking about. And in today's video, we're going to be dissecting everything from the general programming principles that you need to follow all the way to the scientific breakdowns of why sub-maximal training is going to yield in much better results when it comes to you learning advanced calisthenics skills. Make sure you guys watch the entire thing through, because even if you miss one part of the meeting, you will not be able to grasp the entire concept. Enough talking, let's get into it. Basically, we're going to talk about training and programming today, like what goes through my thought process when I write programs on a larger scale so you know how to write them for yourself. I'm just repeating it really quick because I forgot to record. These are the variables that we need to examine: age, height, weight, your current strength level, and then also one more I forgot to mention, which is going to be how much stress you experience on a day-to-day basis. Your older, heavier, and taller counterparts are going to be able to tolerate less volume and be able to perform less high quality working sets compared to their shorter, lighter, more laid back counterparts, right? Who don't exhibit much stress. This is a big reason why it's very hard to make substantial amounts of progress when you're working a full-time job and you're extremely stressed out compared to, someone who is living life on low cortisol. It's simply the case. Your ability to recover session to session is much better. Your ability to bring mental energy to each session is going to be substantially higher. Okay. And this is the first thing we need to identify is your operable bounds. This is where your program should live, okay, within this zone. So the lower bound can be defined as the easiest but most useful exercise that we can utilize when it comes to us learning skills. The upper bound is going to be the hardest, but still the most useful exercise we can use to learn the skill we're trying to learn. Very simple example. We're trying to achieve the planche. We're currently stuck on advanced tuck. We're trying to learn straddle. A good lower bound would be something like a planche lean, because it's something that we can scale no matter how strong we are, okay? You have a good lower bound when the lower bound is always unchanging. A good upper bound in this example would be straddle planche attempts, because we're holding an advanced tuck and we're trying to get to straddle planche. So doing the hardest exercise that still brings us use is going to be the upper bound in this case, which is going to be our straddle planche. If we did full planche, it would not necessarily be good. It would be a bad upper bound because it's virtually too difficult to stimulate any sort of type 2 fibers. You're going to enter the position and you're not even going to fight it. Your body's just going to shut down because it's overwhelmed and just fall. Okay? So remember, our goal is to stimulate type 2 fibers without generating a lot of fatigue. We have two different axes that we need to worry about. We have relative intensity, which is how much force is your muscle generating for every repetition that you do. And then we have proximity to failure, which is how close are you actually taking that contractile tissue to failure. We want relative intensity to be high, and we want proximity to failure to be lower, right? Around the 70% mark when form starts to break. Because after form degrades, you build up abundance of fatigue, and this fatigue is going to bleed over into your subsequent working sets. Makes sense? Then you cannot reproduce the result that you did on your first set for a consistently long period of time, and so your stimulation of type 2 fibers drops significantly, okay? So it's not that sets are easy. The sets are hard. High relative intensity, low proximity to failure. Okay, that's how we stimulate type 2 fibers in the most efficient way possible. And like we discussed, there is no perfect amount of volume. The number of sets that you're going to do session to session is going to fluctuate, right? Or you run a running average. Okay, this week I had a running average of 6 working sets that were high quality. This week it was 7. This week it was 8. Boom, package it, and now you have a good kind of window to train between.
the goal is not to be 100% accurate. It's not. The goal is to just have a good idea of how much your body can tolerate and work within those bounds. Teddy, go for it.
Yeah. So for warm ups, usually it's best usually to mimic the main set movement like the same, right? So for example,
Yeah.
if it is a 90-degree handstand push up, then I do like bandit 90 HSPU. But why is it that for me, if I do the 90-degree better if I warm up with planche. Like if I don't warm up with planche, my scapula socket just feels like off.
I would assume because with planche, it's you are basically doing the 90-degree on steroids. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you're stimulating all the same areas, but way more compared to just doing a standard set of 90-degree warm-up. So yeah, I would say that's a great warm-up and probably is very beneficial for when you do your 90-degree handstand push-up work, because all the activations are nearly the same. It's just everything is on steroids because your arm is fully locked out.
Oh yeah. One more question. Uh, because my front lever press is really weak. What kind of anatomical part that is inefficient? I guess.
Yeah, it could
Just
be.
curious.
So shorter arms with a poor lat insertion. I forget if it's higher or lower lat insertions that make it more disadvantageous, but does not matter to you because these are things you can't control. You know what I'm saying? The biggest thing is just keep going through the range of motion of shoulder extension with a high relative intensity to stimulate the type 2 fibers. So that's why I have you doing straight arm lat pull downs, failing between like 4 to 7 reps because you're going to utilize a heavy weight and you're going to stimulate the type 2 fibers in the perfect straight arm shoulder extension position, plus cluster sets of straddle front lever negatives. We're hitting the type 2 fibers from a multitude of different angles, so it's impossible for you not to make progress.
Okay.
Steven, go for it.
Yes, so I definitely am this over-analytical guy, both in training and in also the rest of my life, I think. So I don't know, in training, I was training with a friend yesterday and I just did my workout and he was like, he's a crazy guy. He can do like 2-finger Maltese and stuff like that. And he told me, yeah, you don't have to do advanced type planche. That doesn't correlate to full planche at all and all of this stuff.
He's a
And then I
fucking
thought
idiot.
about it. Sorry?
He's a fucking idiot.
Sorry? I didn't understand.
He's a fucking idiot, bro. I don't know why people say stuff like this. Like, do you realize what this statement means? Like, just break it down. Advanced tuck planche does not correlate to full planche.
Yeah, we talked about it a lot. He said it correlates to the full planche if you talk about the strength aspect and everything, but the whole neurological connection, like to combine the core aspect and everything, your whole body, like the full planche not the same as the advanced type planche is basically what he said, and that makes sense. He agreed at the end that the advanced type is not too bad, but nevertheless, my point is that he just got me thinking, and that led me to thinking about this, the whole workout and how I can change it up and everything. Like, I have 2 questions. One, how can I stop thinking like this? How can I just do my session and not overthink it everything, even outside of training and everywhere? And second thing, do you need to have like one fixated program, or do you need to have like a structure that tells you Monday is volume day, Wednesday is active recovery and adaptation, and Friday is intense day? You can do these exercises and then just go by feel and do as much as you feel like makes sense every time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay, so a lot to unpack there. Let's start off with the first question. How do I stop overthinking about everything? This is ultimately a character flaw that stems from some sort of insecurity or lack of confidence, ultimately, because it's like you get a dopamine hit every time you design a new program. You're like, yep, this is the one. Like, this is it. And then you train on it for a few weeks and you're like, bro, I haven't gotten full planche in 3 weeks. Okay, let's change it again. So it's like just a dopamine. It's quick dopamine because you're sitting there like a geek overanalyzing your program, making changes that are going to have virtually no impact on your ability to progress. So, and guess what? It's going to happen the same thing in all aspects of your life. So you need to learn to control your mind. Okay. You need to be like, yo, I'm sticking with this no matter what, you know, like no matter what, I'm following this program. I will not get off of it minimum for, let's say, 3 months. Okay. Your other question, should we have like a set program to follow, or should we always update it? I think was your thing. Like, is there a benefit to updating it frequently?
Not updating it. You are also updating, but like when you structure out the workout, not like making it precisely on what it has to be, but just writing out an idea of what the training should be looking like, of what it actually targets, of what the goal of it is, and then just training by feel. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I've actually started doing a new thing when I write programs. I write 3 days, the intense day, volume accumulation, and then the active recovery. And I love what day to do, but I incorporate a rule. You must do 1 intense session per week. That's the only rule. But you choose. So like, let's say today I feel average. Okay, volume accumulation. Okay, how do I feel tomorrow? I feel really good tomorrow. Okay, I do intense day tomorrow. Right? So 2 days in a row, I just trained because I just listened. I just asked myself, how do I feel? But just having a gauge of how do I feel, you know, it's not definable. So what I recommend is doing grease the groove and seeing how those sets feel. If they feel sharp, do a crazy session that day. Do intense session. If it feels horrible, you're like 400 pounds, active recovery or skip it, you know? So you should write a program, but that is going to change based on how you feel.
Okay, and every day you then just look how you feel, and then every day you just do something.
Yeah, you reassess. Every day you reassess, yeah.
Okay.
And then the other question, look. You guys have to understand, okay? I'm trying to play the comedy role here. I see some of you guys laughing. You know what I'm saying? So I've been so pissed off lately with the calisthenics scene because we got one guy saying sub-maximal training is useless. Just enter flow state, bro. It's like, dude, what are we doing, man? And these guys are paying thousands of dollars to this man, dude. It's unbelievable. So this whole argument of these strong athletes who weigh 50 kilos and are gnomes trying to tell you how to train, it's laughable, okay? Advanced tuck planche is no different than full planche. If you say that advanced tuck planche does not apply to full planche because of the neurological core aspect, you are telling me that the main bottleneck of your ability to hold a full planche is the abdominal engagement, which we all know is not the case, okay? It is simply how much torque can you generate in this position, right? I would argue it's the lean, if anything, not even the abdomen engagement. Like if I did an advanced tuck planche with the same amount of lean, dude, that's literally a full planche, you know? So yeah, this is also another thing. This is a planche, right? If I had weight in front of me and I'm holding it, this is a planche, yeah? Assuming I have the lean angle, right? So what people are doing on social media is you have a 5-foot guy who's holding a planche, you know, and he needs to generate, let's say, 100 pounds of force. And we have a guy who's 6 feet tall who can only hold an advanced tuck planche, but he's still generating the same force. You get what I'm saying? So like this guy's advanced tuck planche is just like this guy's full planche. And these two are arguing over which one can train better. You get what like how illogical does that sound? You know? It's unbelievable. This is why you have to examine another sport, because this sport is very cooked with the people we have in it. Because one guy's legs are extended further, so he thinks he owns the world, and the other guy is literally stronger, but his legs are tucked in, right? Because he's maybe longer, heavier. And this is the essential argument of everyone in the sport. And so the funny thing happens is the guy stuck on advanced tuck, who's stronger than the guy doing full planche, goes to the short guy for coaching, who doesn't know how he got there when they're the same strength level, and tries to teach him his method. And then he stays plateaued. You see the irony there, you know? This is the only sport with this problem. It's so unique. Teddy, go for it.
Yeah. Would you count like the reverse deadlift as a front lever press? Because for last workout, I did the halfway, but like it's like a press because I cannot hold it.
Yeah.
And it's actually easier than if I try to do like the straight arm lat pull down on the advanced stuck front lever, if you
Yeah.
get what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's the only problem. Like when you do advanced tuck presses, sometimes people just move like their legs up, so it looks like they straighten. So you look like this, right? So and this is my torso, these are my legs in advanced tuck. And if I do a press, the press should be like this, right? But when you do advanced tuck press, it's like this, you know, which is not the same movement. So same thing with inverted deadlift, right? This is all you're doing. You're just straightening out fully like this. But a press is your whole body tilts in unison, which is much harder and is much better. So inverted deadlift, it has carryover, but not to the same degree as an actual press and an actual straight arm lat pull down. All right, and we talked about fatigue is not this magical health bar, right? We can break fatigue into 3 big pillars. Connective tissue, which is your tendons, right? What is the health bar of your tendon, right? That's 25% of it. Is your thing about to snap the next session? Like, we want to be careful. Knock on wood. Okay, and then muscular is going to be the other 25%. This is actually going to be your contractile tissue, right? Your muscle, because this is also going to get fatigued when you hold your sets. And the other 50% is the mental acuity aspect. How focused are you? How much are you actually bringing to each session? The actual formation of new neural pathways, right? Our whole training is literally, we have one goal. It's to extract as much power out of the type 2 fibers as possible. We know that with Henneman's principle, muscle fibers are called up upon in a linear fashion, starting with type 1. And as the relative intensity increases, we call upon the type 2A and type 2B muscle fibers, which are the strong, aggressive ones. That's why you can have someone who looks like a twig, but is doing full Maltese presses, because he is literally showing you that his body is so neurologically adapted to utilizing type 2A and type 2B muscle fibers that he doesn't need a lot of contractile tissue, because he's already utilizing the ones he has to such a high degree. You can have a bodybuilder who's extremely weak, but has a very large potential for strength, but he has not yet taught those muscle fibers or recruited them through the necessary training, okay? Because as we know, bodybuilders are more concerned with type 1, longer time under tension, right? And by the way, bodybuilders always recruit the type 2 fibers, just at the very end of their sets, after they've reached like a large amount of time under tension. But think about it, think about it, right? You can utilize, right? Our body is ATP, like energy, like our muscles are firing energy, right? So it's in our best interest to utilize all of the energy that our muscle has with the type 2 fibers right away. So versus starting the engine with type 1 and then slowly redlining to type 2, we start with type 2. So we're using energy off the bat to stimulate type 2. Bodybuilders start their sets type 1, type 1, type 1, type 1, right? Lactic acid is building up, muscles actually starting to get fatigued, type 1, type 2. And then as they get to the end where they need to really call on those aggressive fibers, type 2 gets recruited for a short period of time. Set ends, right? Calisthenic athletes were calling on type 2 almost instantly, because most of the movements we're doing, static movements, are intrinsically very intensive off the bat, really high relative intensity. So, and this is like 50% of the whole game, right? For these processes to actually undergo and these neural pathways to form, this is where most of the recoveries happen. Steven, go for it. And we're moving on to the new info after this.
Yes, so what I don't understand is how should you combine acquiring those type 2 muscle fibers, which basically means like training very intensely, right? With training submaximally, with having enough time under tension.
Yeah. Awesome question. I love this question. So remember, I defined 2 different things. I defined relative intensity and then proximity to failure, okay? Relative intensity is a measurement of how much force your muscle is generating per repetition. That's all it is, okay? So if I curl 10 pounds, I'm generating 10 pounds of force. If If I'm curling 50 pounds, I'm generating 50 pounds per rep. Yeah. Proximity to failure is what we refer to when we say submaximal. So we are staying away from actual failure. Okay. So submaximal does not mean easy sets, right? Where the relative intensity is low. If relative intensity is low, no stimulation of type 2. If it is, I'm just blanket statement. Okay, these are blanket statements. There will always be type 1 when there's type 2, and there will not be type 2 when there's type 1, right? Maybe very minimally. But I'm just using blanket statements to paint a picture. We want relative intensity to be high. That is the most important, crucial thing. And we want proximity to failure to be roughly 70%. So right when form breaks, cut it. Okay? And by getting time under tension, that's why we have progressions. A scalable thing that is going to recruit type 2 fibers, but that we can also hold for a prolonged period of time. Because right now you're associating in your head, how can I reach high time under tension if my relative intensity is high? If my relative intensity is high, doesn't that mean my sets are going to be short? Right? That's what you're thinking. But relative intensity does not have anything to do with that. Relative intensity, like for example, I can push on this wall really hard forever, right? Like I'm pushing on this wall right now, very, very hard. I can do it forever. You know, I'm producing a lot of force. I can do it forever. So when we use progressions, we're utilizing a lot of force because we're holding all of our body weight, whether it's for like 5 seconds or 15 seconds, the relative intensity is still high. Now, I will say, if you're going like above 20 seconds, I would re-examine your relative intensity, you know, because then it's like, okay, maybe we could go up a progression. You get what I'm saying? That is why bands are only great for coordination, right? For you learning like the actual like pelvis position, right? Protraction. What do bands do? Bands reduce your body weight. So your relative intensity plummets, okay? But it's still important because now you're able to learn the actual like form, the shape, you know? But most of your training should be in the body weight work.
Awesome. Now I understand. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. No question. Okay. Why do we even train submaximally? Okay, this is it right here. Again, I'm using a random number. Mental exertion matters way more than physical exertion when learning skills by 20x. Okay. Let's talk about it this way. When you were a kid, okay, you have no recollection of you learning how to walk. Okay, like none of you can remember. If you do, you're like Einstein and you should be developing something right now. You don't remember how you learned to walk, but during that period of time, the only thing you were thinking about was, bro, how the fuck do I get my feet to move forward? You know, how do I stand up? And that's all you're thinking about. But you do not consciously remember. But now, as you've gotten older and you're trying to hold yourself, why would you ever do that? You have a bunch of stressors in your life, right? So for you to bring that mental focus is very hard. Versus a kid, you're like in la la land. Just, okay, I want to do this. How do I do this? You cry if you don't get it. As an adult, you have a bunch of other things going on. But if you can try to be mentally present in every single session that you do, where you're trying to direct these neurons to the most accurate degree possible, you will progress so much faster compared to your other counterpart who is simply showing up and going through the motions. Okay, I cannot emphasize this enough. This is why Darian, I think he's still in here. This is why Darian is an absolute madman. Okay, this guy made such unbelievable progress in such a short period of time because I can tell his attention to detail is super high. I tell him something, it's perfectly applied. Like, you need to be so mentally focused, all right? Listen to music, do whatever you got to do to really bring as much mental effort as you can to your sessions. Your body's already trying to develop all these formations of things, but you, like, being mentally present is just going to amplify this already natural processing, okay? These processes. This is the general approach I follow when it comes to writing programs. We have 3 different sessions. We have an intense session recovery day and volume accumulation. This is more pertinent for like skills, right? Like very advanced skills. I program things differently for people who are more beginner because I feel like this redlines your recovery a little bit more. You have to worry about connective tissue more. I'm not a fan of it. Intense days, we're trying to push the upper bound. We're trying to set new upper bound. We're operating at very high degrees of intensity. This is in relation to both relative intensity and proximity to failure. So this is going to be like, you're going all in. Like, you know, this is you're testing things out. Then we have day B, which is going to be your recovery day. This is going to be focused on perfect activations and form, longer time under tensions, still high relative intensity to stimulate type 2 fibers. And yeah, these days will be easy, okay? Volume accumulation is going to be similar to day B, but more volume, focusing on reinforcing the neural patterns that we're trying to acquire on our A and B days. And it sets us up for the next intense session, okay? So this is just general structure. This is the key thing, okay? This is really what I want to talk about here. Why submaximal training builds strength faster than training to failure. When you train to failure, it's very easy. You turn off your brain and you go like this, right? You just curl, curl, curl. Oh, I'm tired. Done. If I tell you, bro, do a set at 70%, you're going to enter the set and you're going to be focused on exerting yourself perfectly. Because now, like, oh my God, I have such a good way to describe this. Oh, for example, dude, I'm the GOAT. All right, listen. So look, there's a wall in front of me, right? If I say, yo, punch the wall as hard as possible, it's very easy, right? Just throw my hand at the wall and I hit it, yeah? If I say, yo, stop your hand right before you hit the wall, I have to be more focused, right? So if I want to just slam the wall, it's easy. If I want to stop right before I hit the wall, I need to be more focused, right? Because I have to not only have acceleration, but I need to break at a very precise period of time. This is not one reason, okay, why submaximal training is better. Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully I'm not confusing you guys. But another reason why is because we get to manage our muscular fatigue way better because we're not going to failure degrades over and over again, which means we get to have more high quality working sets that continuously reinforce the motor unit recruitment when it comes from those type 2 fibers, okay? The name of the game, like I said, is doing as many high quality working sets as possible. And the only way we can do that is by shying away from failure with a high level of relative intensity. Steven, go for it.
Yes, so this submaximal thing, is it applied to like all the movements? Because like a planche hold, for example, no matter if banded or not, is very hard to do like neurologically. But when you do like Zanetti presses, it's much easier to do. And you can go to much more, like you can go to actual failure without breaking down in form, really, you know what I mean? So does it correlate to everything or only like the hard skill that are hard neurologically?
No, it applies to everything. Like this applies to squats, everything.
Okay, so you basically should never train to failure.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, no. Like you should be training to failure, but like I would say 20-80%, right? 30-70. Like because if you don't train to failure, you never know what your true maximum is, you know? Like you have to retest your max, you know? Like you have to do those sets where form breaks and you're holding, you know? That's still very crucial too, because you're putting your foot in the door of the next thing, which is also very important. But the thing that's allowing you to do that is not what's going to allow you, like the submaximal training allows you to PR, but the fact that you're PRing does not mean that you should keep doing PRs to keep PRing. Make sense?
Yes.
It's like this thing of you make progress and you unlock a new skill and then you start just repeating that new skill and you plateau because you acquiring that skill is not what got you there. You get what I'm saying? Like you doing that skill is not what got you there. So you need to just keep doing what you've been doing, just maybe a little bit harder.
Yes, I understand. But with stuff like Zanetti press, for example, you're not focusing in there to like get this neurological adaptation done. Like you
You are in
like
everything. In every movement you do, there's a neurological adaptation happening.
yeah, but the main reason why we do Zanetti presses is because of like the muscle are both growing and also just able to generate like raw force output, isn't it?
You're able to stimulate the type 2 fibers in a very predictable and measurable way. That's why Zanetti is awesome. You know, like if I, for example, if I want to expose you to the same degree of lean that you want to do in a full planche, I have two options. I can hook you up with a bunch of bands, but that's going to plummet your relative intensity. Or I can expose you to Zanetti with that same lean, but your relative intensity is high because you're holding a substantially large amount of weight, you know?
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Max, go for it.
Yeah, so that's probably because I'm just a kid still. But in my program, we go to failure like very often. Is that because I'm just...
Yeah, for your thing, like you're doing a lot of like handstand push-up stuff, and like this is not comparable to you. Like most of the times you fail, it's not because of, what do you call it? It's not because you're overexerting yourself, you know, but rather a coordination deficit. You know, like for example, if I do handstand push-ups to a failure, am I really doing it to failure? Like most of your sets are going to end because of balance, you know?
Yeah, but like,
and also
for
we're running a
example,
phase
yeah.
for you. Yeah, we're running a phase for you where it's more intensive right now. So again,
Okay.
it's going to like be different person to person and where you are. Like we discussed in the previous weekly meetings, we have periodization, right? We have undulating, and then we have linear. You know, like we have these different approaches for when we also write mesocycles. Right now, you're on a very, very intensive one.
Okay, no, just because like we have pike push-ups to failure, we have like the handstand push-ups, and we have the front lever holds, advanced tuck and stuff. But I just wanted to know.
Yeah. I mean, bro, you're killing it. You're at like 5 handstand push-ups, 6.
Yeah, deep ones.
See, you're killing it. Also, you're younger, so I'm just throwing way more at you because it's going to benefit you a lot more.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But like, to which age can you do that?
I honestly don't know. That's
There-
something I'm learning too. I think it's like, I would say after puberty, like I think that's when. I mean, just
Okay.
logically speaking, like I don't know, but I would assume like a few years after you're done growing is probably when you don't see
Bro
those
just throws random stuff at me, not knowing.
Yeah. I mean, dude,
Okay.
like, you know, I haven't coached many people who are young, so it's
Yeah,
a new ball game for me. But you're killing it, bro. You got 90-degree handstand push-up in like a month, bro.
yeah. I will. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Braxton, do you have a question?
So I have questions, and then you answer them 2 seconds later. So
Okay. Okay, injuries. Everyone's favorite. So we have usually injuries happen 2 different ways. Some sort of physical trauma, right? Like a car just absolutely just nails you. Or we have underlying weakness, okay? Some sort of weak link that causes another structure to take on too much load and it gets strained, right? So physical trauma, we're not going to focus on. Hopefully none of you guys get sideswiped by a vehicle. Underlying weaknesses is what we're going to be targeting, okay? So this is the big thing here. Whenever we deal with any sort of injuries, we want warm compress. We want more blood flow to the area. Okay, for some reason, everyone thinks you need cold compress because as a little kid, you fell down and you scraped your knee and then everyone put ice pack on you. Okay, it makes sense there because you're not trying to heal the area necessarily. You're just trying to reduce the pain so you stop crying, right? So this constricts blood vessels, stops blood flow, no nutrient delivery to the area, and it's good for acute pain relief, but not for healing, okay? Warm compress and blood flow. Why do you think your body has inflammation? Like the body is inflaming certain parts of yourself that are not only promoting pain, but also promoting blood flow to the area. because that is your body literally trying to heal itself. When you're inflamed, there's excessive blood flow to the area, more nutrient delivery. So you feel the sensations more. Pain is higher, but this is what's allowing you to heal. So whenever you have any sort of pain, irritation, discomfort, warm compress, blood flow to the area, light banded work, stretching, warm compress. This is critical for tendons, which have very low blood flow. And like we mentioned, we want nutrient delivery because we know recovery will be accelerated. Biggest thing is force management, right? When it comes to injury prevention. Now, look, I partially tore my bicep from doing a straight arm press. I felt perfect. I've done this exercise countless of times. My biggest thing is I came off of sickness and I trained again. I felt great, but I think it was like shortly after sickness, my body was still in some sort of weakened state. So really listen to your body and always overestimate things. I promise you, you never want to get injured. Like with all of your guys' stuff, I'm never going to make you do something that's like going to be even remotely like, oh, you might get injured. You know, like if we're doing any supinated work, anything weird, bro, there's going to be at least months of conditioning prior to that. You know what I mean? Like you must. To prevent it, you always want to step load. You know, like imagine a staircase. You always want to step load your intensity. So if you're building up to a big 1 rep max, do a bunch of warm-up sets, slowly building up to that 1 rep max, okay? You need to match your level of exertion to how you feel on a given day, right? Not just based on what the program is saying. That's why I tell all of you, bro, if it's supposed to be intense session today, don't do it, cut the sets, keep it easy, okay? If you're injured, you need to avoid movements that cause the pain to increase. If the pain is staying the same, it's okay, you can train. But be mindful still, don't be crazy. If the pain is increasing, you stop instantly, you go home. Light banded work is great for blood flow, and strengthening the weakened structures is very important. See, the thing about the body is it's very interesting in the way that it's going to radiate pain to another area, but the root cause is not in pain. You get what I'm saying? So like just because you feel pain somewhere does not mean that that's the area of concern, okay? The area of concern could be something else. A very classic one, you get pain in your shoulder doing overhead press. 90% of the cases, it's not your shoulder, it's the long head of your biceps tendon, right? It's a bicep issue. So it's things like this to consider. Now, nutrition. 3 macros, all 3 different jobs, okay? Protein, everyone knows this. I'm not going to talk about it. You eat a gram of protein per pound of body weight, help you recover. The steeper of a deficit you're in, more protein. The less of a deficit you're in, the more of a surplus you're in, the less protein you can get away with. Fats, 20 to 35% of your daily caloric expenditure, of your daily caloric intake should be from fats. Fats help with hormone regulation. They help you feel not dead, okay? If you feel dead all the time, if you just have no... You want to lay in bed the whole day, probably you're not eating enough fats. Carbs are your superpower. Bro, if you're not eating carbs, you are selling. You are throwing your gains away, literally. Carbs are your body's number one efficient. It's crack cocaine for your body, okay? Before your training, you should have carbs. Maybe even the night before. It'll get stored as glycogen in your muscle, okay? Every gram of carb you eat stores grams of water, okay? That's why it's called a carbohydrate. Glycogen is fuel in your muscle, okay? More carbs, more fuel, stronger, okay? No carbs, flat, weak, go home. You also want to have carbs after you train, because when we train, we spike our cortisol. When cortisol is raised in the body, your ability to synthesize protein and recover is diminished. So as soon as you apply cortisol from training, consume carbohydrates after your training, spike insulin, drop cortisol, promote nutrient delivery, okay? So carbs before, carbs after. Carbs after is arguably more important, okay? And we're not talking like you need to sit there and eat 5 pounds of rice, okay? This is not what we're talking about. Like most of you should be consuming anywhere, I would say, between 250 to 350 grams of carbs a day. Okay, like if you need more, you need more. If you need less, you can get away with less. But yeah, this is what I have to say about carbs. Yeah, we talked about glycogen, right? The night before, you can have a lot of carbs. Pre-training is also good, but you don't want to have too many, so you're not like full. This is another thing. Do not eat protein or fats before your training. You're going to promote so much blood flow to your digestive tract, and it's going to make you feel very lethargic and tired. You should be training fasted or with minimal carbs, or not minimal carbs. You should be training fasted or with carbs, okay? Fast digestion. And post-training, we need carbs so we can spike insulin, drop cortisol. Braxton, go for it.
So you said no proteins before trainings, and the carbs are okay, right?
Yeah.
What about caffeine? Is caffeine okay too?
Caffeine's caffeine's a vasoconstrictor, which means it's gonna reduce your blood flow. Unless you're trying to get like an insane pump, it's irrelevant. I have caffeine. You have caffeine. Go for it. Just don't do like 400 milligrams. I would say a safe bet is like 100 to 200.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think are the best sources of foods to get the carbs and protein goals?
Good question, man. I love rice, sweet potatoes, oatmeal,
steroids. So
fruits. For protein, ground beef, salmon, eggs, egg whites, chicken, if I didn't mention it. Greek yogurt is a fantastic choice. I always start my mornings with a cup of coffee, Greek yogurt, honey, and fruit. I love starting my morning like that. Usually before training, I like to have banana, as well as sodium. Like salt is also crucial. We have a sodium potassium pump in our body. I think that's intra. I don't want to speak on that because I don't know for sure. But yeah, sodium's very important as well for pumps.
My oatmeal and banana before wrestling practice, and I threw up everywhere.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's good, bro. That's good. Yeah. In terms of protein sources, like protein powders is also a good choice. I would not try to rely on protein powders a lot. But sometimes making a shake in the morning with like milk, strawberries, frozen fruits, and a scoop of protein is good. Quincy, go for it.
How many carbs do you want to eat like after training? It doesn't matter if it's like fast digesting or slow digesting carbs.
Yeah, it doesn't matter afterwards. Did you ask how many?
Yeah, like rough estimate.
Rough estimates. I would say 50 or more. It's going to depend on the individual. I would say you try to eat like 20 to 30% of your carbs after your training, like in that meal alone. Assuming it's not the last meal of the day for you, like 20 to 30%. If it's the last meal of the day for you, I would try to eat a little more. Okay, yeah. So if you remember nothing, if you were literally asleep during the presentation, wake up, and this is what you need to remember. Okay, operable bounds is the first thing we do. After examining the variables we discussed, height, weight, age, daily stress, right, stuff like this. Figure out operable bounds. From there, it's very easy to design a program because now you know, okay, I have these bounds. I need to systematically raise this one and have a lower bound that's fixated that I can always run back to, no matter how absolutely horrific I feel, okay? Second, there's not a perfect amount of volume. It's going to fluctuate day to day. Track the number of working sets that you do that are high quality per day and run a running average, okay? Number two. Number three, fatigue is 50% neurological, okay? Now, blanket statements, just to paint a picture for you, okay? I doubt it's 25, 25, 50. I doubt it's like that. I doubt there's even a percentage, but this is just to paint a picture. Stimulating the type 2 fibers is our number one goal, and letting those processes happen and adapt is very, very crucial. Sleep is important. And so, yeah, keep that in mind. Injury prevention. If pain raises, stop. If pain's stable, you can train through it carefully, okay? Number 5, use warm compress to promote blood flow to heal injured areas. Cold is for pain relief, not recovery. And then the last thing is with macros, make sure you're consuming 20 to 35% of your total calories from fats and time your carbs pre and post workout. All right, guys. Give me some banger questions. Let's go.
So with like a injury you could work through, that would be like, for example, when I first started training planche, I had like killer pain in my forearm. So that's like the type of pain that you could work through, but like a pain that you shouldn't work through is like a bicep pain, right?
So in that case, yes, because we all know that the forearm pain from planche in that way is a very normal thing. It happens to virtually everybody. I would say bicep pain is a little bit more niche and should be like a bigger raise for concern, you know? But nonetheless, follow the same rule. If the pain is increasing, stop, which for all of us planche guys, we know that we don't fucking stop when that forearm pain happens. It just like keeps getting worse each set until you go.
My arm, my fingers like lock, and I lock onto the parallel, and then, like for a couple seconds, oh god.
Yeah, dude, it's so bad. It's so bad. But yeah, bicep pain I'd be more careful with. Why does that happen? Because when you're leaning in planche, you're extending this part of your wrist so much, like this whole side of your forearm under load. And then when you drop all that tension, it's just a big ache. What you can do is release the bar slowly. This is one way to help not strain it as much. But yeah, ultimately this goes away on its own. Just control your proximity to failure and also your relative intensity.
Only time I don't get it anymore, only time I do it is when I'm doing like intense planche push-up days is when I get the pain.
Yeah, on the lockout, yeah.
Yes, like as I'm coming out, I'm like, oh fuck.
Yeah. Boris, I assume you had the same question, yeah?
Yeah. I just wanted to ask whether like warm compress is good for this issue.
Yeah, very good. I would not only do warm compress on the area, I would also get like a bowling ball, not bowling ball. I get like a tennis ball and like shove it in here and just massage it, you know?
Okay. Thanks.
Yep. Quincy, go for it.
I have a question about front lever because I know a lot of people that train SAT, they put their feet on the wall. Is that like a possible like lower bound for the front lever too?
So the reason that exercise is actually really good is because it has a high relative intensity because you're using your body weight. You're not reducing your body weight like versus in the form of bands. For front lever, I would say no, man, because there's so many like better ways to do it. For SAT, it's really nice because you don't need to use like a shitload of bands, but also the SAT, your lat is in its most shortened like position, you know? So it's a very like awkward way to train it. So I think that exercise has a very specific use case for the SAT. I would not use it for front lever.
Okay, thank you.
Orlando, go for it.
Yeah, I have a question about the one-arm handstand because you say that you have to retract your scapula and also depress your shoulder, but also you say that I have to have a slight elevation. So should I depress the shoulder or not?
Or elevate, yeah. So look, the way my methodology on one-arm handstand is very different compared to your traditional hand balancers. I like the breakdancing approach. These guys are doing like flips and then they just jump into a one-arm handstand and they're like jumping on one arm and like balancing. So it is the chaotic form of it, right? I would argue these guys are better balancers than actual hand balancers because you're doing so many different chaotic movements still holding it. So this leads me to my point of it's not going to be perfect form, but biggest thing is retraction. Okay, if it's elevation or depression, that's going to be up to you and what you prefer. I prefer having a more sunken in shoulder because I treat it like a mini planche lean. Like that's why I'm holding the one arm handstand. Like I'm a little bit lean through my arm, right? I'm not like this. I'm a little lean. So I get to put more weight into my delt and be able to make better corrections that way versus being perfectly stacked. I feel like I have less control, although it is cleaner and it is conventionally a real one-arm handstand, you know? So I would say retraction is good, but depression or elevation is going to be up to you. I prefer depression because it allows me to create a stronger pocket.
Okay, I see. Thank you.
Yeah. Armin, go for it.
Okay, so there's one thing I don't really understand. So if our goal is to recruit as many type 2 fibers as possible, then wouldn't it just make sense to go till failure like a lot? Because the type 2 fibers are only getting used in those very like extreme and high intensity circumstances.
Yeah, it's very, very, very good question, man. Very good question. So we know, according to the Henneman's principle, that type 1 and type 2 fibers are recruited in a very linear fashion, right? Type 1 fibers, the smaller, weaker ones, are called up upon first before the stronger, bigger type 2, more aggressive fibers have a reason to get called on, right? The body's smart. Why utilize its strongest resources when it doesn't need to? So that means that if we need to get type 2, we should probably be going to failure, right? But why are we training sub-maximally then? Well, because it's not actually about your proximity to failure, rather your relative intensity. So how much force you need to generate per exercise that you do. So for example, if I'm pushing this wall in front of me very easily, right, just low pressure, I'm not getting many type 2. If I push against it as hard as I can, now I'm recruiting type 2. But I don't need to go to failure to recruit those. I just need to generate more force, you know? So it's about the amount of force that our muscles need to generate in proportion to how much raw force they can actually produce. So the higher we reach the upper echelon of how much raw torque that muscle can produce, the more type 2A and type 2B fibers we need to recruit. That is different than proximity to failure, right? Relative intensity and proximity to failure are two different things, and you can stimulate type 2 without necessarily going to failure, but the inverse is not the same. Every time you go to failure, you will stimulate type 2 fibers. But not every time you stimulate type 2 fibers do you go to failure. Make sense?
Yes, thank you, sir.
Got you. This is a phenomenal meeting, guys. If I didn't sell the bag with the recording, oh my God. Gus, my man, go for it.
Yeah. Hello. Can you hear me? I don't know if it's.
Yeah.
If it's...
I hear you.
All right. Okay. So I had a question about like the front lever touch. So I heard like on like Instagram, a lot of people were saying that to think of like the front lever touch, or if you're even just transitioning from like a front lever pull up into the touch position, that think of it as a pushing skill, like you're rounding your shoulders and pushing your actual hands into your stomach, or would you consider it more of an actual pulling skill?
Yeah, I saw that post. That guy's a little bit of a moron, bro, honestly. Like that guy. That guy's a moron.
Make sure, because I was like, I don't really know how that would be related to like that's a pulling skill.
Yeah, I would not listen to that information, bro. It's definitely
I just wanted to ask.
Yeah, good question. Darian, go for it.
Hopefully you can hear me. Do you think there's something to be said for like when you program, things for your clients, like what they actually resonate with, what they like training? Because you were talking about earlier, like cluster sets, or like debate on cluster sets. Well, if I don't like doing fucking cluster sets, but they're like hypothetically the most optimal thing, then it's not really optimal for me if I don't like doing it and don't enjoy my training that way. So maybe you can like expand on that. I'm just curious.
Yeah, so sometimes I write someone a program and they're like, I'm just not having fun with this. I'm like 100%, man. It's not always about being optimal. I would argue you have to enjoy your training more than it being optimal, because you're going to able to bring more mental energy, have more dopamine, and like just have more fun, be more present mentally, which we know is very, very important. So yeah, having a training approach that is very fun and optimized as it can be is the best bet. And if you're not having fun, it needs to be changed. Damn, we've been going for a long time. Yo, guys, this is a phenomenal meeting. I would say I'm glad I remember to record halfway through. Armin, go for it.
All right, I have a question. So when eventually in the future we do a meetup with, all of us and you, are you gonna let any of your students drive the Supra?
He already said he'd let me.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
Yo, wait, what?
Crazy.
Of course, bro. I want to do a meetup so bad, man. I think it'd be
Dude,
so
man,
fun.
we should take that shit to like we should meet up at like a airport runway and just let us fucking rip that shit, dude.
Let it rip, dude. Yeah, now we need to get, man, we gotta do a big USA meetup. I'm gonna try to organize something when I come back from.
They should make a fuck. Never mind. Stupid.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
nah,
they should make a racing driver's license where you could get like extra perks on the road, like you could speed.
they don't
Guys
pull you
just
over.
have to come to Germany's Autobahn. That's where you
Autobahn,
have
bro.
to come. Yeah,
Dude,
can drive
Kevin.
300s.
Bro, me and my dad were driving on the Autobahn. He's like, why does the light keep flashing? Like, I see them sometimes. And turns out we were not on the Autobahn, bro.
Oh fuck!
Yeah, in Marburg it's not Autobahn.
The FOC cameras are gonna get you.
Dude, yeah,
That's good.
and he got like
Yeah.
7 tickets in the mail. He's like,
Oh
oh,
my god.
that's why.
Okay, I have a quick question on periodization. I started like this year. I was training like this ABC day, like you say, and that training was 100% skill focused. And I got to a point where I thought that I need to have a block of hypertrophy training because like I thought that that was my my bottleneck. So is like, I guess my question is whether this ABC method is already a periodized training. Like, is this like periodization, but just an undulating or whatever it is called, or yeah, I guess that's my question.
Yeah. So, in this context, so you can structure your ABC day to either be a skill-focused block or more of a hypertrophy-focused block, right? The only difference between like more skill-esque training and more hypertrophy-esque training is going to be the time under tension and the percentages of your 1 rep max that you're working with. So with skill work, a lot of the holds are going to have very high relative intensity, very, very like intensive work intrinsically, right? Not close to failure, but very intense. If we're doing more of a hypertrophy block, it's going to be more focused on movements that are not necessarily skills. It would be more like Zanetti work, a lot of Zanetti work, because this is a thing that you can measure, scale, and that you can have a lot of time under tension with, with a free weight. I would say I don't normally do hypertrophy blocks. I kind of sprinkle it in if I feel like it's needed. Very rarely is the case a lack of just raw tissue, like that's assuming that you've adapted all of your fibers that you have already. You're using all of them and you've literally reached the ceiling. So it's like you need to upgrade the engine in a sense. So you need to get more muscle. I've never seen this happen because with everyone who's extreme beginner, I spend the first 6 months to a year just trying to build your physique up, so that we never have to like worry about having this awkward period in the middle where we have to run like a 4-week hypertrophy block,
Okay, I understand. Thanks.
If you made it this far, congratulations. I hope you learned a lot from this video. If there's something that you didn't quite understand or you still have questions about some of the topics, make sure to drop a comment down below and I'll go through and make sure I answer it. If you've been struggling to progress in calisthenics and want to be a part of over 70 other individuals who share the same exact passion as you, then I do offer one-on-one personalized coaching. You can check out the link in the description below and fill out an application to work with me and be a part of my team, or shoot me a DM over on Instagram, which is the platform that I am the most active on. I love all of you and I'll see you guys in the next one.